What did you learn was wrong with you?
A lot of microclots.
Congestive heart failure.
Doctors are seeing a wide range of debilitating after effects from COVID vaccines, or both.
So I treated him, and his symptoms significantly improved.
This week, an investigation that may impact millions of people as science and medicine play catch-up to the pandemic.
One state is poised to both convict and elect former President Trump.
Georgia is a must-win state.
We look at the unusual place and politics of the Republican Party in Georgia.
Hospitals are disappearing in rural America.
How many hospitals are there here in Juniata County?
There are currently no hospitals.
Lisa Fletcher looks into the long road to health care for some expectant mothers.
Welcome to Season 9 of Full Measure. I'm Sharyl Attkisson. Today we begin with a critically important investigation that stands to impact millions. Only now are scientists starting to unravel some of the most confounding mysteries surrounding the many illnesses that can linger similarly after both COVID and COVID vaccines, or sometimes suddenly emerge months or years later. Many physicians are left in the dark without effective treatment guidance from public health experts. But we found one doctor turned medical detective whose findings are viewed as so groundbreaking, his help is sought after from doctors and patients across the U.S. and beyond.
That's around down right there. Let me take a look at your eye.
If there's a singular person that first set the gears turning for Dr. Jordan Vaughn, it's Vandiver Chaplin.
Big deep breath in and out.
It was December 2020, shortly after his COVID vaccines.
What were you feeling?
I just felt terrible, dizzy, lethargic, all those kind of things. And I was having some optical issues too. My vision would just go blurry suddenly. And then maybe a minute or two later, it would clear up.
You're kind of patient zero for Dr. Vaughn.
Well, that's what he told me. All I did was go get my vaccines and react to it. So I didn't necessarily do anything special, but except maybe I feel like a meteor coming from space that I dropped down near Dr. Vaughn.
Dr. Vaughn is an internal medicine specialist and CEO of MedHealth Clinics in Alabama. He ran some scans and other tests on Vandiver, his longtime patient, but didn't find anything abnormal.
And at that time, I did some blood work, found that he had abnormal clotting issues. He was significantly short of breath.
The abnormal blood clotting issues were there all along, says Vaughn, just hidden from view.
As I understand it, I was making lots of blood clots, but they were so tiny you couldn't detect them.
So I treated him as if he had something that I wasn't able to totally see, which would be smaller vascular issues, and his symptoms significantly improved. So that really pushed me off on a journey to say, what is going on here? There's got to be something there.
Dr. Vaughn was on to something. By the time we visited his Birmingham practice, he and his team had treated more than 1,100 patients, from athletes in their teens to people pushing age 90. We asked a few to speak with us.
Andy Sink, 55, had acute COVID that required hospitalization.
Phil Williams, 58. He's treating my wife for blood clotting.
I have congestive heart failure as a result of it.
I had GI symptoms and heart issues.
Many blood clots in my lungs.
They report a wide range of debilitating after effects from COVID vaccines, or both. Some became sick right away. Others were hit hard a year or even 2 years later.
Hannah Bourgeois, I'm 39, and I had shortness of breath from COVID.
Dr. Greg Bourgeois and his wife Hannah, parents to 5 children, were vaccinated and got COVID. She became so sick, she was nearly bedridden for 2 years.
I felt like my body was just shutting down on me, and there wasn't anything I could do about it.
After a consult with the famed Mayo Clinic brought no improvement, Greg Bourgeois, a dermatologist who attended medical school with Dr. Vaughn, heard about what Vaughn was doing and sought him out to treat his wife.
What did you learn was wrong with you? And in layman's terms, if you can kind of explain it to people who don't know about all the intricacies.
So I learned that there were a lot of micro clots kind of throughout my body that was just causing oxygen not to be able to get around very well. He was the first doctor that when I went to see him, he would finish my sentences for how I was feeling. That was so, I think I started crying the first time because that was so new, and he understood, and he said, it all makes sense.
What is the treatment he gave you, and how do you feel today?
So he put me on the triple anticoagulant therapy, and within a couple of days, I started to notice some difference, but within 2 weeks, I felt like I had risen from the dead. I got my voice back, I could walk, I could do things.
And then to see the turnaround, it was pretty dramatic in a way that I personally have not gotten to witness a lot of in my career.
Another physician who sought Dr. Vaughn's help is 88-year-old Donald Carmichael, a retired vascular surgeon and former professor of surgery at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. He and his wife, Mary Alice, both vaccinated and boosted, say they got COVID more than once. The last time, a near killer for him.
Thought he was not going to live through the night. Our son, who was a friend of Dr. Jordan Vaughn, said, "We're not taking you anywhere else except to him in the morning." His treatment put him back basically in full health, and he was so giddy I thought he had lost his mind.
There are also young athletes. The case of 15-year-old Braden Little baffled doctors for 2 years. He's seen here suddenly collapsing on the court after COVID. After seeing Dr. Vaughn, he's so vastly improved, he's back on the road playing again. 19-year-old runner Ellen Redinger is hoping for a similar recovery. She's also a patient of Dr. Vaughn's after getting vaccinated, getting COVID, and getting very sick.
I can pinpoint the day, the time where I was. When I was running, I was doing a workout, and all of a sudden, I cannot feel my legs. I cannot feel, my heart rate is going 200. I can't do it. I call my dad, I'm like, I'm done working out. I can't do it. And I went for like 3 or 4 months of just feeling awful.
You had to give up running, obviously, for a period of time.
And I can't do any type of working out. I can go on a walk, but it has to be like a small, short walk for a short period of time. And if I do overdo it, I feel all I can do the next day is lay down. So.
Together, Vaughn and his small team are unraveling some of the emerging mysteries that, for whatever reason, have become taboo to discuss in some practices, especially when it crosses into vaccine adverse events.
I always say it's almost like there's 2 worlds. There's before COVID and after COVID. And a lot of doctors are still living in the before COVID world where everything's in the textbook. But when you have a syndrome that comes before you and it happens to be associated with this new pathogen that everyone seems to have been in contact with, you've got to kind of open your eyes, open your ears, and also get into the literature and try to figure out what the heck's going on. People would come to me.
Vaughn thinks he's figured out why people who've had both COVID and COVID vaccines often seem to get the sickest. And it has to do with what's seen in these immunofluorescent images, something called fibrin.
So we are designed all to make fibrin. Fibrin's one of the first kind of response mechanisms.
Forms a clot if you're injured or
something?
something?
It's like trauma, infection, all those kind of things. You're going to make fibrin as a response to that. But the fibrin you usually make is, again, like spaghetti that just came out of the colander. But the fibrin that you make in response to a spike protein that's associated with COVID and the vaccine is kind of like burnt spaghetti with cheese in it that you have to get a Brillo pad and get it off the bottom of a casserole dish with. And in that sense, that's why it's so unique. It's resistant to being broken down. Literally everyone, when they have the spike protein exposure from either the vaccine or from the infection, you're going to make some of these amyloid fibrin. The question is who can get rid of them? And if you can't get rid of them, they sludge up the small vessels and inhibit the delivery of substrates. And those are things like red blood cells, which carry oxygen. And so in that case, if you can't get oxygen to tissues, you're going to have significant dysfunction at every level.
Dr. Vaughn is drawing from emerging research, and some of the research is confirming his own conclusions. Yale researchers recently reported persistent symptoms after vaccination, long vax, are similar to those reported with long COVID. Science magazine writes, rare link between coronavirus vaccines and long COVID-like illness starts to gain acceptance. According to CDC, COVID vaccines instruct the patient's cells to make the same spike protein that's in COVID.
This small RNA sequence, when injected into the muscle, initiates the production of spike proteins.
The spike proteins, some scientists now say, are apparently causing damage through microclots months or years later. Back in December of 2020, a chilling foreshadowing from a Harvard-affiliated pediatric specialist. In a letter to the FDA just before the first vaccines hit the market, Dr. Patrick Whelan wrote, "It appears that the viral spike protein created after COVID vaccines is also one of the key agents causing the damage to distant organs." He called for more research and warned it would be vastly worse if hundreds of millions of people were to suffer long-lasting or even permanent damage to their brain or heart microvasculature, small vessels, as an unintended effect of vaccines.
And I think the silver lining of this is we're going to really start to understand what is happening there at the tissue level. You're basically not getting oxygen out to the tissues. Those tissues can be anything from your brain to your vision to your ability to take a big deep breath, all the way down to whether you can run or do other things. And the problem is when something affects every system, it's a little different to address it. And it takes kind of somebody who can put the pieces of the puzzle together.
Today, Vaughn and his team are fielding requests for help from as far away as Germany, conducting original research and sharing what they're learning.
I speak to groups of a couple hundred physicians every month or so. I have even round tables at night on Zoom with a bunch of physicians that are interested in what we're doing. A lot of people that really care about their patients have realized whatever they're doing is not working, and we've got to figure out a way to help them.
For more on this topic, watch a special Full Measure event. I'll be hosting a 1-hour town hall. It'll be streamed live online at this station's website and on all Sinclair station sites Tuesday, September 12th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Ahead on Full Measure, a state that stoked some of the most controversy in the 2020 election is center stage in 2024. Nowhere is controversy over the 2020 election hotter than in Georgia. Multiple voting irregularities stoked accusations from Trump's side that the election was stolen. Democrat prosecutors are pursuing criminal charges, accusing Trump of illegally trying to overturn the results. Today, national polls show Trump is far and away the Republican frontrunner. Now the Republican Party in Georgia is trying to present a united front heading into 2024. Scott Thuman reports from Atlanta.
At the next election, this southern state, until recently a Republican stronghold, could determine the entire country's direction.
Our path to the White House runs through Georgia. A Republican to get elected president, Georgia is a must-win state. You look at the map, a Republican can't get to 270 without Georgia.
Josh McCoon has one of the tougher jobs in politics as the new chairman of the Georgia GOP. He is trying to move his state more firmly into Republican hands.
CBS News projects Joe Biden has won Georgia, flipping the traditional red state blue.
When Joe Biden won here in 2020, he became the first Democrat presidential candidate to do so in 28 years. And the left didn't just carry the White House. Two first-time politicians, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, both Democrats, beat two incumbent Republicans in the U.S. Senate in a rare double runoff.
There are a lot of headlines about whether or not Georgia's up for grabs these days. For some Democrats, they're going to smell blood in the water, and they think this is an opportunity for them down here.
Well, I'm very bullish on Republican chances in 2024. We are a center-right state. 2020 was an unusual election for a variety of reasons, but I'm very bullish looking ahead to next year.
2020 left deep divisions among Republicans here. Biden won by less than 12,000 votes, a razor-thin margin of just 0.2%. And Trump's campaign pointed to scores of irregularities. Most turned out to be false, but a handful were real. There were tabulation errors originally favoring Biden, and counting was paused because of a pipe break, only to be quickly resumed after Republican election observers left the room. But the state's Republican governor and Secretary of State who ran the election repeatedly defended its integrity against Trump's attacks.
I don't see Georgia as having an identity crisis. I see 2020 as an aberration. And you look at 2022, we added a member to our Republican congressional delegation. We kept every statewide constitutional office.
What about the biggest X factor perhaps in all of this, being former President Trump? Does he help you or hurt you these days?
Look, I think there are a lot of people that I've seen get involved in the Georgia Republican Party because of their excitement around the Trump administration, the president's policies, the America First agenda. And I think that the key in the general election is, while keeping our base motivated and out to the polls, that we do keep a focus on the Biden administration's failures and how a Republican president, whoever that is going to put America in a position to lead the world again.
Though Atlanta's suburbs have become less Republican, the Democrats face challenges here too.
I am not the regular representative at the Capitol.
Case in point, State Representative Misha Maynor, elected on the Democrats' ticket 3 years ago.
You've been in the news quite a bit lately.
Yes.
She recently made the bold move to switch to the Republican Party.
What is it about the Democratic Party that you think has changed so dramatically that it just was no longer home for you?
Think about what the Democrats are promoting. Right now, they are promoting, we need to get this anti-Semitism law passed. I am supporting all ethnic and religious groups, but that is their priority. The other priority, transgender rights. I support everybody, but that is their priority. They're supporting the prosecutors, systems. I support families and people over systems.
Maynor says her focus, now as a Republican, will remain education.
One of the things I'm most proud of in this short tenure I've had as Republican Party chairman is to convince Representative Misha Maynor to switch parties, become the first black female Republican in the history of the Georgia General Assembly.
While McCoon sees Maynor's switch as a win for the party, it is contrasted by some looming concerns.
A Fulton County grand jury has voted to indict Donald Trump.
Former President Donald J. Trump has been criminally indicted.
19 defendants in Trump's circle, headlined by Trump himself, were indicted in August for allegedly scheming to overturn his 2020 loss there. McCoon admits his party is spending an inordinate amount of time, energy, and money to defend members fighting to now stay out of jail. He hopes that 2020 was the party's low point in the Peach State, reminding Republicans to stick to core conservative issues like the economy.
I would just ask people to ask themselves, between 2017, 2021, how was the economy doing? What was your personal feeling of public safety like? It's the age-old question. Do you feel better off today than you did before Joe Biden was elected? Everyone I ask that question to, it's a resounding answer. The answer is no.
But aware the days when an R next to the name on the ballot would guarantee a Republican win are long gone. For Full Measure, I'm Scott Thuman in Georgia.
Coming up, a worry for pregnant women in America's rural communities. Thanks to taxpayer aid related to COVID, most hospitals operated at all-time profitability in recent years, according to analyses. And yet more are closing down maternity wards. Lisa Fletcher looks into the problem, reporting from Pennsylvania.
Registered nurse Maggie Leister begins most days in the car, not to get to a clinic or hospital, but to go directly to her patients' homes.
Make a U-turn at Harding Avenue.
She's one of a small number of nurse home visitors, specializing in new and expectant mothers. She covers Juniata County, Pennsylvania, a rural area an hour northwest of the capital, Harrisburg. Her job exists because so many rural areas have lost maternity wards and the obstetricians who take care of women during their pregnancy.
How many hospitals are there here in Juniata County?
There are currently no hospitals in Juniata County.
Across the country, rural maternity wards have been shuttered at an alarming rate. Around 200 hospitals have closed their obstetrics units in the last decade, leaving many expectant moms and people with serious medical conditions far from high-level medical help.
There was a hospital not that many years ago that offered maternal care out in one of the rural areas here, and it closed. What was the result of that closure?
So the women had to find care elsewhere. So that meant farther drives and probably not as good of care. Hey, Selena. Hi. How are you today?
I'm all right.
On the day we met Leicester, she drove 30 minutes to see her first patient.
Tell me how you've been kind of feeling with everything going on.
It's getting better.
Selena Hawk is 8 months pregnant with her first child. She grew up in a city, but came to the tiny town of Richfield a year ago.
What are some of the things as an expectant mom that you're worried about now that you're in a rural area that doesn't offer maternal care?
It's mainly if something were to happen, if my fiance's at work and like my friends that live downstairs from me aren't home, how am I going to get myself to the hospital?
For Hawk, it's a drive of more than 30 minutes to the nearest hospital, about an hour for one that has the care her high-risk pregnancy requires. The biggest factor in the closure of hospitals and maternity wards, declining rural populations and birth rates. Fewer than half of all rural counties now have a practicing obstetrician, according to the American College of OB/GYNs. Of greater concern is the rise of maternal deaths in the U.S. That's when a woman dies during pregnancy or within 42 days of giving birth for reasons related to her pregnancy or care. In 2019, the rate was 20 deaths per 100,000 births. By 2021, the number rose to nearly 33 deaths. Experts attribute America's higher maternal mortality rates to a number of factors, including access to care.
For the women who aren't fortunate enough to have a Nurse Maggie come and visit them and they're in a rural area that's lost their maternity care, what is the bigger problem there?
Just timely care, are they being seen regularly? Because with maternity care, things can change so quickly. Blood pressures and diabetes and things like that. They can happen overnight almost sometimes. Okay, 110/82, perfect.
Okay.
So Leicester is keeping a close eye on Selena Hawk as her due date approaches. For Full Measure, I'm Lisa Fletcher in Pennsylvania.
And after a break, we'll take a look at what's ahead next week on Full Measure. Coming up next week, a Republican candidate for president whose star seems to be on the rise in his party, Vivek Ramaswamy. He said he'll attack systemic corruption and eliminate a lot of federal agencies. He's the first in our series of candidate interviews as we move into the 2024 campaign. Thanks for watching. Until next time, we'll be searching for more stories that hold powers accountable.